The following is an informational video on the upgrade to my Arc of On personal light language template that I've been doing for people since the mid 1990s. This project began as a result of my facilitation, along with my then husband Simeon, of a sacred journey to Egypt. Thoth gave me, at that time, these sacred vocables that he called the alphabet of the Ark. There were 24 of them. And he then proceeded to give me a combination thereof of 5 each for each person going on this journey to use as their Ark names. And so these were given, and one of the ladies on the journey, a friend of mine who makes beautiful jewelry, she created a little droplet pendant for each of us to wear, men and women that were going, and in that pendant was a rolled up scroll of that individual's Ark name that was sealed, literally sealed inside the pendant. So when we arrived at the sacred places, we were integrating our Ark names with the locale, especially when we went and laid in the king's chamber, the sarcophagus of the king's chamber, and went through our chanting and rituals there. I'll speak a little more to that in a moment. Now, what are the Ark names? Well, I have some just physical informational material that I've included as a link with this video that you can read. I just recently created a series of 2 videos. Well, it's probably going to be 3, and 4 including this one, because I'm going to include it as part of it, that talks about in depth this whole topic of light languages and the alphabet of the Ark. I read the texts, including the text I'm giving you here, but I also comment on it and bring it up to date in a greater understanding of it all. Now, that is available to portal members, but it also will be available to non-members through purchase of those videos. What I'm doing is, those of you who wish to purchase your own individual template of Ark names, of this upgraded version, because I'm letting go of the older one, you can have an option of either just ordering the template, the personal template, or as a package with the other videos, so that you get access to them as well. So I'm not going to go into explaining about the alphabet of the Ark, because you will have that link to read it yourself. So I'm just going to continue with some other aspects of the new development. Now, what you're seeing here is the old template, the one I've been using since around 1995. The blank black place there would be supplied with symbols that matched the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 vocables that compose the Ark name. Now, these names would change in regard to the person that I was doing it for. There's 24 vocables to choose from, and the combinations thereof would come up for each individual. That would be unique, presumably. You know, some people might have the same ones at times, but for most part, it's unique. And then the symbols would come underneath here. There's a very basic document that talked about everything in general. The individual vocables, there was no verbal definition given to them. They were just energy concepts, shall we say, focuses. And Thoth wanted it that way because if one locked onto a definition, one might not go further with the vibration that is being given. This is not like runes or tarot cards or something like that. I'm not putting those down. I love runes and tarot cards. But this is not really that kind of thing. You don't read it. You don't give a reading with it. The light language is a dimensional whirling. It's an energy the imprints into the body, into the DNA, into the spiritual being. And there's a reciprocity there. The spiritual being, the DNA, and the body are communicating with it. They're responding to it and giving their communication into the light codes, better engendering those light codes for the whole font of their purpose in our holographic universe. So you can see it's a much, much deeper thing. So Thoth said, scratch the definitions. Let's just do it this way. Okay, so, but now with the upgrade, he is allowing some of the briefest definitions. And he's stressing that this is not the end all. You're not getting a reading where this means that, and this means that, and this means that, and that's your reading. What you're getting with the definitions are simply not, they really aren't definitions. They're gateways. They're gateway promptings. That's what Thoth is telling me right now. Call them gateway promptings. So you get the gateway prompting that helps you kind of move deeper into the whole multi-dimensional rich experience of that light code. So this is the old format, and I'm going to show you the new one. So this is the new one. Now I've done mine here, okay, so you can see it. The circle atop contains an individual radii, a combination of dots and, well, you could call them drops, but Thoth is calling them flames. And there are 8 of them. And out of the 8 is chosen one for each individual. So obviously some people, it's going to be recycled. Some people are going to have the same in there and some others not. This is the higher dimensional platform. It does not have a definition at all. And it is simply an encoding. It's a signal that says X marks the spot for you at this time. The 3 names or vocables you see here. So here you have the little radii, but here is 3 names. Now this one happens to be radii. Depending upon what is chosen for you at the time, it's sort of a double entendre here between the name that happens to come up radii and the fact that this Thoth is calling this up here a radii. This we get into. If this individual thing pops up, it simply means that the person is focusing more intently on bringing the whole picture up to date in their light program. So that means I got some work to do here in regard to that. So anyway, I just want to show you how this relates. Now, to go to a blank one, so to speak. So here it is, as everyone's going to receive it. They all get the circle. They all get all of this. What they get, this individual is what comes up in the circle and the 3 names in these quadrants here. Now, Thoth very specifically wanted me to design it this way. And he wanted these little hands. As you see, they're supposed to be like little, if you see the Aton symbol that is often represented in the hieroglyphs, especially with Tutankhamun, you have the symbol of a sacred Aton with the rays coming down. On the end of the rays are these little hands. Here's a picture of one. You can see how the little rays have tiny little hands coming down from the solar rays, extending down to Earth, to humanity. Here we have the hands in a slightly different position as a glyph, a hieroglyph of the Egyptians. This is represented Ka, spirit, power, spirit, life. Power, energy, spirit, life. Spirit, essence, nature of life, from the power of our hands and arms as actions and deeds. Ka, kau, bull, cow, power, strength, fertility. Power of the action in the world to create from consciousness, self, soul, spirit, essence, etc., of who we are, aspiring and rising to the higher consciousness, up to higher consciousness. Real spirituality is mortality. Your spirit, soul, self, and character is defined by what you do with what you know about reality and self-conscious and self/consciousness. Your behavior reflecting who you are. Upright arms, right angle, power, energy to act with arms and hands. Our moral spirit, essence, nature determines our quality of life. Character, behavior, actions, deeds, character, charisma, who we are by our actions and deeds determines our quality of life. Now, with the symbology that Thoth gave in regard to the new template for the sacred names of the On, as seen here, as depicted here, we have this cosmic reach coming to us and dividing the four quadrants of our experience. This is how we manifest. The four quadrants represents the manifestation, but also you can also see superimposed here, if you really look hard, because I didn't make a diagram of it, the body of man, like Michelangelo's body of man. You know, you've got the head where the flame of the red eye are encircled in the encircling flame. You have the red eye, that's the head. Then you have the heart where the central flame is. And you have the arms and the legs expanded out where these hands, feet, you could say, are coming up out of the central heart. So this whole representation here is the body of man, which Thoth also equates to the body of Osiris, as Osiris goes through his process of arising into the consciousness flame. And so the hands here, yes, they're representing what is said on that diagram, but it's moving further. It's reaching into the depths of soul experience that is even beyond the physical conformity. And yet it affects that physicality because it leads us into embracing the pure gem state, the pure gem body of the new Earth star. So what you're seeing here is not just a pretty picture or even a symbolic picture. I worked with Thoth very specifically to create it. If you receive your personal template of sacred On names, you would really need to work with it, not spending hours of time with it or anything. But you can't just get it, say, that's pretty, okay, I've got the basic understanding, and put it away. You get nothing from that. This is not a card reading. You need to go into it. You need to be able to see this image and reflect on it, not with the mind, but with the heart, sight, spirit, with the eyes, with the third eye. This is really designed to activate the third eye, not in general, but in the way that it is intended to receive these higher light codes. So looking at this daily, I'm going to be giving it to you in a high resolution so you can print it and put it on your wall. You know, you can have it printed by really nice paper and everything, frame it, put it up there on the wall, you know, somewhere where you're going to be seeing it a lot, maybe over your altar. If you don't want to go that far with it, just print it out on regular paper and put it on your altar. Put it on your desktop computer as well, where you can keep looking at it. You don't have to do some, deep mumbo-jumbo thing, big ceremony rite. If you feel like doing that, you can, of course, but you don't have to. All you need to do is have this present in your experience in space. And keep with it until you feel like you've absorbed that energy and you really don't need to look at it anymore. But that's going to take some time. Also, there's the fact that Thoth says in 6 months to a year, 2 years longest, really, if you want to continue with this, you should get another one because it's going to be different the next time. Presumably, it's going to be in, a different formation, a different expression that you're needing to work with. So ideally, every 6 months would be good to get an update on it. So let's take a look at the vocables themselves and what Thoth is calling the gateway, what did he say? Gateway codes, I believe. So I checked with Thoth, and this time he said, well, okay, gateway prompts. That was the terminology that came out of the streaming for me. the gateway prompts. These aren't definitions, like I first said. They are gateway prompts. They prompt you to enter the gateway of these vocables. Or names. You can call them names as well. And probably names is a better term because more people understand that. So we have the first one given here is Radai, working with the element of mastery, focusing the intention of pure thought. That doesn't mean that you succeeded in this. It just means that you're working with it. And also, it is a prompt to enter the gateway of Radai. It is not a definition of Radai. It is a prompt to enter that gate, the gateway that enters into the Radai. Okay, next we have Matim. I'm sorry, my eyes are failing me. Matim, opening the way, loosening bonds that restrict, forming the words, tones of activation. That is the prompt that allows you to enter the gateway into Matim. Lu, the gift of the gods, ambrosia, the elixir of spirit living in flesh, combining the best attributes of both. Kasef, holding up to the light, revelation of design and purpose. Nakim, the call to life, the hearkening of the soul as a bringer of light to the form. Talaskos, a new direction or action springing from the font of deep union with spirit. Nur, light of the coming dawn, integration with divine knowing. Yeshuda, whirlwind of Christic power and glory, taken up from the realm of the habitual into true enlightenment. Now this is interesting because Yeshuda is the name he gave me for the system that is in place with this planet, called the Yeshuda, and it is a whirlwind type of system, higher light system. And I'm not going to go into what it is right now. You can actually go to my Spirit Mythos archival site and type in the search Yeshuda, and it will come up for you there. Vatimi, the stillness, holy of holies, place of inner revelation. Sothis, a very familiar word to us, meaning Sirius, the star Sirius in Egypt was called Sothis, and also Isis, as being representative of that star, was given the name of Sothis. Here, he speaks of it as the Syrian flame of release from the bondage of karma. Tasmal, the journey moving through the morass of the mind to embrace the light. Gini, I think is more pronouncing Gini. A point, a place in the being where a resolution of all spaces resides, coming to the point of fullness and satisfaction in the heart. Again, I remind you, this is not the definition of Gini. It is the gateway prompting. Kofa, transforming gross to living flesh, finding life through death, seeing beyond the physical senses, finding water in the desert. Nakmal, appreciation, savoring the true sweetness of life. Sasquanta, releasing the dove to flight, opening of the heart to true expression of spirit, embracing all and holding to nothing. Fear, becoming the gift, seeking only to serve the light in other, true selfless service. Of course, in the higher concept, we are all one, aren't we? But we do experience other in duality dimensions. And so, as such, it is important to embrace the other as self. And you do that through the service in light to the other. Kasmul, dropping the silken scarf. Trusting that this act will unfold the grace of godness, faith in divine order. Dropping the silken scarf. Thothis mentioned this to me before. He gave this to someone, a friend of mine. He said he showed the scarf dropping to the floor and unfolding. And he's bringing it up again here. Because when you drop a silken scarf to the floor, what happens? You never know which way it's going to fall. It's just like an ink blot test or something. You don't know how the scarf is going to magically unfold and what creases it's going to have, what shape it's going to take. But when you drop it, you have the faith to do so. You're dropping your life, the dimension of you in all experiences. You're dropping it, not discarding it. You're dropping it with grace as a silken scarf to unfold as it may in having faith in the divine order of that. Techa, becoming the invisible walker, moving through obstacles by changing frequency to face match with higher command of spirit. In other words, obstacles are not things to batter through, to overcome in the sense of a battle or a fight, a struggle. It is moving through by changing the frequency, by changing your frequency to face match with high command of spirit. Rauka, sacred randomness, moving with the random to find the truest mark. Thoth always says that randomness is not randomness. It is in a sense, but the higher light consciousness of all dictates how the random falls. It's going back to that silken scarf again, but it's taking it to another place of understanding, because here you are focusing on that sacred randomness. You're seeing it for what it is, which is the moving with, and you're moving with that random to find the truest mark, because it will be revealed. When we used to row or any, pick up sticks, or you throw the cast the runes, you are moving into the field of randomness to reveal the truest mark. But of course it affects other aspects of your life than just using oracle tools. Ceasing, feeding the flame, keeping the fire of heart burning brightly through thought, word, and deed. Savanta, devotee of the inner realm, listening to the sacred heart, becoming the refracting crystal. Kachi, following the inner child to the moment of birth, rebirthing the longings of the heart into greater understanding of personal path. So you have these longings, and they come out of your inner child. They come out of your actual birth and the trauma of birth, because birth, even is generally on this planet a traumatic experience on some level. For me, I was a cesarean, so it was really traumatic. But even a natural birth, even when you have loving, all of this, there's still a trauma attached to it, but it is a trauma of structural tension, generally. It can be worse than that, but usually it is trauma of structural tension, which is a way to allow you to receive your birthright by waking you up to it. But there's a certain trauma involved, because the soul is moving from one dimension to another, and the dimension it's moving into is fraught with chaos, because that's what we created of our realm. So you trace your inner child back to the moment of birth, and then you rebirth your longings of the heart that come out of that initial trauma. But you rebirth in this time into greater understanding of your personal path. And that relieves all the trauma, because then you go, I've got it. I know why all this happened, including my birth. Now, again, this is a gateway prompting into Kachti. Wunos, the harp of Wunos, is played when the hands are free from grasping. Command the music of the soul. And lastly, we have, if I can get it here up on the screen for you. Well, I actually can't, because I've fixed this so it's not going to come up on the screen, but I'll read it to you. Fat is seeing Godness in everything, transforming faith into knowing, hope into power. Now, when you order your sacred on naming, you will receive this information here, that is as it is written. So this concludes the instructional video. I will have links to what else you need, like the paper I just read to you, and the initial definition of the alphabet of the Ark, and also my story that has been written in brief in my journey into the Great Pyramid with Simeon and the other fellow travelers in 1997, the part where we received certain activations which I believe were directly connected, well, to the Ark names we were wearing and the activation of them through the process that we received there. So all of the information should be accompanying this video on the page that you are accessing this video now. Thank you for listening.